So people have always asked, is human life so full of suffering, so full of evil and harm doing, that maybe we shouldn't be perpetuating and we shouldn't be reproducing? However, it's also, we think, a unique moment. And there's two things to say about why it's unique. The first thing to say about the way it's unique is that this concern was abstract. So philosophers thought it, a certain kind of poet might raise it as a question, but it wasn't something that people felt like something they need to answer. In other words, kids were, or having children was kind of a part, an essential part of what it was to be human for many people. Well, today having children is something that we feel the need at some level or other to justify. So that is unique. I would also say that I think, what if somebody says, well, why is it? Why are they? Why right now these kind of concerns that we've always seen are something that being felt like something we need to give an answer to? And here I want to say, first of all, the research right now suggests it is not a salient concern in terms of the practical deliberation. So we point even to a study that was by a climate activist, like somebody who's very sympathetic to climate concerns. And he surveyed climate activists, environmentalists about their decision to have children. He found that people who are already leaning no or have decided against it will play up the political cause. He calls it the weaponization of reproduction. And I think that is the case, that for very few people it is decisive, certainly not with the people that we talk to. Climate change is not decisive. But if you look at media, if you look at the public discourse, all antinatalist concern is done through climate change. And I think the thing it's pointing to is, I would put it this way: concerns with the future are always concerns about the present. So a concern about the future and saying, why is the future looking any more bleak than it did before? I think that's a good question. But I think it's also a question of, what does this mean about how people view the reasons for their existence? What does it mean about their capacity to value this, like what it is that we're doing as human beings on this planet at this moment? And I think what we see as an expression of kind of a crisis of faith in what we're doing right now. And that's why I think when we come to the positive argument of the book, what we say is, if you want to restore faith in a human future, a conception of the value of a human future, it's good that there is a human future. You need to ask, what is it that we value in our own lives today? And so I would say that what has changed is sort of people's capacity to justify and embrace the present. So the tendency, the climate fiction novels, they'll talk about a really grim future, but what we see a lot of people who are talking about today, they talk about an irredeemable present.
There's this really oppressive sense of humanity as being at fault. And so a lot of people end up thinking like, well, how do I reproduce that? And when you do see the few kind of nascent arguments that have come out thus far about, is there a way of justifying having kids from a leftist point of view, they often are premised on this idea of hope that, okay, the future generations, they'll figure it out. We can believe that having children is okay, but maybe not like good, but fine. If you want them, you can have them. Because, every new generation is a new possibility for regeneration. But their actual diagnoses of the lives we're leading today is really, really grim. There's almost nothing to commend humanity. Like, our form of life is incredibly unequal. It destroys the environment. And so, like Anastasia was saying, we feel that these attempts at justifying having kids that rely only on this recourse to hope end up falling short, because, why should we assume that the next generation is going to do any better than we have?